Immaturity is a huge turnoff in relationships. To a certain point, it's kind of funny. The funniest people that I know tend to be on the more immature side of things. But at a certain point, it becomes tiring in a relationship. The kind of person who can't do their laundry without their parents doing it for them, or the kind of person who goes to the dining hall and doesn't eat anything green on their plate, or the kind of person who you get into some sort of disagreement and you can't handle it civilly. Eventually, it gets tiring. And a lot of these people say, at some point I'm going to grow up, at some point I'll become mature. And for some of those people, it never happens. We know that there are lots of adults who never really get to that place of maturity. Sometimes we're the same way with our Christian walk. We say to ourselves, as gross as that is with relationships, we can be that way with Christ. We can be immature because at some point in our life, I'll lock in at some point. I'll stop getting drunk every week at some point. I'll start going to church at some point. And sometimes that point never comes. Jesus' message to us from our text today in Luke is this: don't wait for that lightning strike moment. Don't wait for the lightning to hit. There are three people that Jesus talks to in this selection, and you might see yourself in one of these three people. Three people who make excuses for not following Jesus now, who are waiting for that lightning strike moment. Let's start with that first person here. Verse 57, as they were walking along the road, a man said to him, "I will follow you wherever you go." And Jesus said, "Foxes have dens, and birds have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head." In other words, Jesus is saying, you might think it's going to be easy to follow me, but you don't realize what kind of itinerant life I'm going to be living. It's going to be costly. So this first person is the person who's eager to follow Jesus, really excited to follow Jesus, but doesn't realize that it costs something. And to be honest, some of that may be us, because Jesus isn't that controversial of a person. Christians can be controversial, but Jesus, not so controversial. Jesus said, love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you, turn the other cheek, give to the poor. Uncontroversially, morally good things. So many of us might say, you know what, I'm down for following this Jesus guy. He seems like he's okay. But we don't realize it actually costs something. We think that because it's a free gift, that means there's no commitment. You ever signed up for some of those texts where it says if you sign up, you'll get $5 off your J. Crew Factory purchase? You just sign up for the text, you just text stop, the very next text. You get $5 off your next purchase, no commitment. Free gift, no commitment. Sometimes that's how we think Jesus is. But Jesus isn't a free gift, no commitment person. In fact, it costs you a lot. It can cost you your very home in Jesus' case. Victoria, could you go to this next slide? This is a sushi crunch wrap supreme. I don't know if any of you are interested in sushi. I love sushi, and I'm following this Instagram page called Wave Mount Dora, which is an Instagram page that has like 800,000 followers for a sushi Instagram page. And it's because they make stuff like this. This has a layer of fried nori in the middle, and then you've got some spicy tuna, some imitation crab, a soft-shell crab, and layers of cucumber and avocado. And to me, the answer is easy. Smash! I'm taking that all day of the week. Many of you would say the same thing. You like that kind of thing. What if I were to tell you that that thing costs $45? I'm not sure I want to do that anymore. $45 on your budget, that's like 6 hours of working for like $8 an hour. You want to work 6 hours for that? I don't know about that. It's a lot harder to commit to something when we realize how much it costs. And the Christian life costs also similarly just that much. A lot of times we complain about hypocrites in the church, and we say that there are a lot of people who are sitting in the pews and raising their hands, and then they go out and they're yelling at the referee and swearing at him just hours later. What kind of person is that? I'll tell you now, it's the kind of person who doesn't realize the cost. It's the kind of person who thinks following Jesus doesn't cost anything. It's just like a frat. It's just a club that you can just join, get friends, show up every once in a while, but you don't have to do anything. And I'll be real, the Christian life is free in a sense. It doesn't cost you anything. There are no annual fees. Heck, you don't even have to tithe to be a Christian. but the Christian life costs everything at the same time. Jesus said, whoever seeks to save his life is going to lose it. Whoever loses his life for my sake, they're the ones who are going to find it. There's a Dietrich Bonhoeffer quote that I think is appropriate here to reference. Bonhoeffer said, costly grace is the treasure hidden in the field for the sake of it. A man will go and sell everything that he has. It's the pearl of great price to buy, for which the merchant will sell all of his goods. It's the kingly rule of Christ, for whose sake a man will pluck out the eye which causes him to stumble. It's the call of Jesus Christ at which the disciple leaves his nets and follows him. My friends, Christ costs you something. It's not just a free gift. It costs you something. And if you're wondering, I don't know why I would ever commit to something that would cause me to pluck out my eye for the things that are making me stumble, I'd encourage you to talk to somebody who's seen it today. Because the people who follow Jesus recognize the beauty that it is to follow Jesus. That it is a treasure, a pearl of great price for which it's worth selling everything. Ask them about the peace that surpasses all understanding. Ask them about the inexplicable joy, even through the toughest moments. Ask them about the presence of Christ when you feel abandoned completely. Ask them about the community who selflessly loves you, even when you don't deserve it. Ask them about the beauty of Christ that makes Tchaikovsky's Sixth Symphony, the fourth movement, pale in comparison. That treasure is a treasure worth selling everything for. So the first person is the person who wants to follow Jesus but doesn't realize the cost. The second person does realize the cost, but they're not sure that now is the right time to follow Jesus. Verse 59, he said to another man, "Follow me." But he replied, "Lord, first let me go and bury my father." Jesus said to him, "Let the dead bury their own dead, but you go and proclaim the kingdom of God." What? Did I read that right? Did Jesus say he can't bury his own father? Now, I don't think that Jesus means this seriously, but some people come to Jesus' defense. This is what they say about this person. Maybe the person was waiting for their father to die, so that the dad hadn't died yet, but they really wanted to make sure that they were taking care of their dad. And Jesus says, no. Don't wait for that event, just come follow me. I don't know if I believe that. I think Jesus' message isn't legalistic, though. We all know Jesus would say to everybody here, don't even bury your father, don't care about your mother or father. The message here is this. Jesus is telling him, don't wait for an event. Don't wait for something to happen and swear, after this happens, then I'll follow Jesus. Some of us are waiting for this lightning strike moment. This moment in time where everything will be clear and we'll start following Jesus for real this time. When I say lightning strike moment, I'm thinking about Martin Luther, that great reformer. So Martin Luther, before he even became a reformer, he was interested in the law. At least his father made him interested in the law. Some Asians know how that goes. And what happened was Martin Luther had to leave to go visit his family, and as he was coming back, he was coming across an open field. And there's a huge lightning storm, like lightning was just crashing left and right. And Luther was scared he was going to die, so he cried, "Saint Anna, if you save me, I will serve you forever." And sure enough, he got saved from that lightning storm. Some of us are waiting for that. Some of us are saying to ourselves, if we get to that point, God puts us in a near-death situation, God takes away something big, or gives us something big. Maybe I hear this great sermon from an amazing preacher, and then I'm going to turn my life around. Maybe I'll be so drunk one day, and then it'll be all bottom from there, and then I'll go up, and then I'll get to church. That's when I'm going to start living my life. Many of us are waiting for that lightning strike moment. I know that I was. When I was in high school, I was struggling with a lot of sins, typical guy sins, lust, pride, anger. I got into a lot of fights with my parents. I didn't really enjoy going to church. It's kind of a drag to read my Bible. I said to myself, at some point in my life, I'm going to wake up. At some point in my life, something's going to happen, and then I'll mature. That's when I'm going to get older. On April 7th of 2017, I was coming back from a baseball game. I played baseball for a public high school in Chicago. And I was done with the game, got off the bus about 2 blocks from my house. If you want to imagine the scene with me, it's April in Chicago, so it's like relatively warm, maybe 60 degrees, sun was shining, trees lining my way, get off the bus. I'm there in my white jersey, pretty dusty from the game. I've got a baseball bag on, light blue with some neon green accents. It's a bat bag, so it goes all the way from my head all the way to my butt. It's a big bag. And I'm getting off the bus, and I'm walking across the street. And I'm walking across the street, and I look to my right, and I see a car, whoosh! Oh gosh, it's good I look to the right first. And then I heard the screeching of tires to my left. So I turned to my left, and I was like, why is there a red car coming so fast at me and not slowing down? And then it hit me. Like, it hit me. I went 40 feet all the way across to here, like literally across the crosswalk, and I did not stick the landing. And I was lying there like half dead, and the car drove off and actually was never found again. So my parents were, my dad was unemployed at the time. We didn't have anyone to cover our medical bills for that $40,000 payment. They got me in an ambulance. My first question was, can I take the SAT tomorrow, do you think? Because my mom paid for it. She's gonna be mad. And they said no. I didn't understand why. I did understand why the next day, because I was bruised all over. I couldn't walk for about a week. I had bleeding in my brain, some problems with my hip for a while. And the doctor said, it's a miracle you survived. And do you know why you survived? Because of that bat bag that went from your head to your butt. Because they showed me that bag and it was torn to shreds. And they said, that would have been your back if you weren't wearing that bag. If there's a lightning strike moment, my friends, that would be it, right? That's when I came to Jesus. Nothing happened at that point. My dad said to me, now we know God has great plans for you. Nothing changed. It wasn't a lightning strike moment for me. I didn't feel like anything was different at that point. You can show the picture. That's me in the hospital. And you'd think that after all of that, I would become a better person. I would start to love my parents better. I would stop fighting with my siblings. I would fix all my problems. And it didn't happen. Because some of us are waiting for this lightning strike moment, and the lightning strike moment never comes, or it comes and it's not what we wanted. It doesn't do anything to change us. So I want to encourage us to not be waiting for this lightning strike moment. That second person is waiting for the event. The event is what's going to fix everything. And that event, my friends, may not come, or it may come and you may do nothing different. Don't wait for the lightning strike moment. So that's the second person. The third person. Still another said, I will follow you, Lord, but let me go back and say goodbye to my family. Jesus replied, no one who puts a hand to the plow and looks back is fit for service in the kingdom of God. Again, Jesus is sounding kind of crazy, right? I called my friend the other day and told her about this passage, and she said the passage made her mad. I was like, mad? But then I read it again, and I said, okay, that kind of makes sense. I'd want to say bye to my family too. But I don't think Jesus' message is about like eschewing your family, because most of us don't need to be honest. Most of us don't need to give up our whole family in order to follow Jesus. Some of us may, but not all of us. The message here is about doing it now and not leaving behind, not clinging to the things that we grew up with. This passage is echoing a passage in the Old Testament when the prophet Elijah had called Elisha. And he said to Elisha, come follow me. And Elisha said, let me say goodbye to my family first. Elijah said, sure, go do it. Jesus says, no. Why? Because Jesus' call is greater than the call even of Elisha. One of the greatest prophets in the Old Testament, Elijah, calls Elisha, and he lets him say goodbye to his family, but Jesus won't. Because the call of Jesus is a call now, not to wait for the lightning strike moment. But it's hard for us because we have things that we want to cling to. Maybe it's not our literal family, but it's the kind of stuff that we grew up with, the habits that we cultivated when we were younger, and that's really hard to do. Here's what I'll tell you, just a word of practical advice. If you feel like it's hard for you to leave behind your family, the habits that you grew up with, the difficult things that are entangling you, here's the answer: just take a step. One step. Step of simple obedience right now. And that step can be going and talking to a mentor for the first time. going into therapy for the first time, getting an accountability partner, blocking that app that you know is not good for you, deciding to read your Bible for the first time even though it's been 3 months. Maybe it's that you're going to go to church this week for the first time in 3 months. Maybe it's that in a conversation where you're usually gossiping about your really annoying friend or your really annoying roommate, you choose today, just once, to not gossip. Maybe you decide, this weekend, I'm just going to not drink this weekend, or I'm going to drink a lot less in moderation. That first step of obedience is just that. It's the first step, because some of us who are tied to our family need to just take one step in obedience of faith. Some of you will say, that's kind of boring, right? Is really this preacher going to come up here and tell me just read my Bible once? And there's a story in the Old Testament of Naaman, which I think is appropriate here. Naaman was a leper, and that means that he had a skin condition, which meant that his skin was white. It was crusty with like a white patch, itchy, really bad. I mean, this guy was desperate. He's a high-ranking general in the army, and he's just itching all over. He's embarrassed. He's willing to do anything. I mean, he'll do medicine, sign up for some sort of drugs. I mean, maybe he'll do essential oils, whatever. He'll do anything that it takes to get healed. And he goes to the prophet Elisha's house, and Elisha says to him, go dip yourself in the Jordan River. Really, man? I thought you were going to tell me to do 7 things. I'm going to go kill 7 beasts. I'm going to go do XYZ tasks, and then you'll heal me. Really, I'm just going to go dip myself in a pool? It's like if you went in and you found you had cancer and the doctor says, just wash your hands 5 times. Wash my hands. But Naaman does it as his servants tell him to. He dips himself in that river 7 times and he comes out and he's clean. Sometimes we don't want to do that first step of obedience in front of us. We're so entangled by our sins that we don't even want to just do it once. Just step out in faith and go to the church once, even if you haven't. Just pray once if you haven't. It's the same thing with going to the gym. I mean, if you feel like, I really want to get in shape, the first step is not to create a 7-year workout plan. I'm going to be cutting for this long, I'm going to be bulking for this long, I'll have this much protein. You can do that, but that's not a realistic goal for most people. For most people, it's literally go to the gym. It's literally go for a run. And then after you've done it once, do it again. And after you've done it again, make it a routine. Do it again until it becomes a habit. And that's when you'll see some progress. And so many of us are scared of just taking that first step of obedience. So I'd encourage you today, don't eschew the simple step. Don't wait for the lightning strike moment when it will tell you, finally, I'm going to go do this thing. Just do the first thing that the Lord is calling you to today. Let me introduce you to a guy. This is Jeremy Gonzalez. You might have guessed that I'm a baseball guy because I played baseball in high school. He pitched for the Chicago Cubs in 1997. He was actually the Cubs' best pitcher, even though he was a rookie. He won 11 games for the Cubs, which was their most win total by a pitcher. He finished in the top 10 in Rookie of the Year votes. On May 25th of 2008, Jeremy was hanging out in Venezuela, his home country, sitting on the beach. And Jeremy had a lightning strike moment. But it wasn't the lightning strike moment that you and I are hoping for. Jeremy died that day from that lightning strike. Some of us are waiting for God to give us that sign to go do something in obedience. You don't need a sign. The Lord is calling you, as He has always called you, to take a first step of obedience. And if you find that the treasure of Christ is so costly that you are willing to give up everything for it, then there's no reason to wait. I'd encourage you today, if you're thinking about what that first step of obedience might be, it's just to talk to somebody. Feel free to come up and talk with me, come talk to Nick, come talk to any of our workers up here. Because it doesn't really take that much. Christianity costs you a lot. It's going to cost you your whole life. And if you are not willing to make that sacrifice, if you're not ready to, that's okay. But I will exhort you that it is the treasure that's worth dropping everything for. It's something beautiful that you're willing to sacrifice your whole life to get it. But it takes you not waiting for that moment, that one amazing sermon in the future, but just coming now. We're just going to pray together, but I'm not actually going to pray out loud for a while. I just want you to pray to the Lord and see what the Spirit might be telling you to do. We just bow in silence and hear what the Spirit might be encouraging us from this message. God, would you just speak through your Spirit here today? What's that first step of obedience that you might be calling us to?